Senator Hovind, do you have a...
I do have one comment or question. That on this sheet, medical marijuana registry statistics, just a couple things. One is the incredible increase in the number of 21 to 30-year-olds and the 31 to 40-year-olds in the last year is of concern. But of greater concern is you go to the second page there, and you go down on the very right-hand side, and apparently we've got 6 physicians out there that have prescribed to from over 500 to 1,000 cardholders. And we've got 5 physicians who've signed up over 1,000 cardholders. And I believe when the discussion of this bill, that was one of the concerns. That's what blew the whole thing wide open back in 2007. When the initiative first passed, for the first 3 years it worked well, and then some guy came in and all of a sudden there was an explosion in cardholders. And in the, I believe, someplace in the discussion of this bill, that subject came up. And if some physician had prescribed to too many cardholders, there was a red flag was going to go off, or the Department of DPHS was going to investigate that. Well, according to these records there, we've got 6 physicians that have signed up 500 to 1,000 and 5 that have done more than 1,000.
Senator Conan, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And actually some of the rules and regulations, and this might be something that we might want to have our committee have a little bit of additional information for the next meeting that we have. The Department of Labor and Industry actually deals with the physicians, and they have the rules and regulations in place that require that you have a relationship with the person that you give the card to, that you can't have just met with them one time. There are some rules and regulations on the physicians themselves, and there is some policing of that through the licensure at the Department of Labor and Industry for physicians working in the state of Montana. So we might want to know, even if it's just some information that could be brought to bear to the committee on that particular issue. So they wanted that more internal, so that's where that part of it went to. After that initial rush that happened in the legislature, I do know that they took that issue up and were doing the internal policing on the physicians themselves to make sure that we weren't having issues with folks overdoing that. And as it was, remember, if you recall, much of that was being done on the internet, and somebody that wasn't even registered in the state of Montana could do that. Well, that's not allowed at this point in time, and so there are rules and regulations on that kind of surround that. I don't know what they're doing on a going out to actually look at it, but I do know that they have put rules and regulations in for policing their own population.
Perhaps that's something that we can get a report on as part of the update at the next interim committee hearing. Representative Hamilton.
Mr. Chair, I would like to support your recommendation, but I would like to add one thing to the list of the 3 that you had mentioned there, and that is the licensing for providers. You'd mentioned licensing for labs, but the licensing for providers, there's a good piece in this brochure that Kate gave us on the sort of the business inequity of the process of phasing in the licensing for providers. It concerns me a lot. Secondly, I don't know how to deal with this, and maybe we just ignore it, but we've got a lot of people now paying taxes for a bunch of things we said we were going to give them, and we're not giving it to them. Why would you pay your taxes?